everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis. So today we're going to start doing our computer build. So first we're going to show you how to mount the M.2 drive. In our previous video we already put the CPU and the cooler on, and then we'll go from there, and then I'll show you what's going to be involved in the build, and yeah, we'll have a look, we'll build it up, show you all the different steps, and whatever else I could come up with. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is our Kingston A1000 NVMe drive, 480 gigabyte. You can get them relatively cheap now. I paid quite a bit more when I bought this originally. And it's going to go right in here. So you have to take this screw out, take this off, and we'll go ahead and we'll show you how to do that. Okay, so loosen this off, and then that's going to let you lift this up, pull it out from here. Now, be careful with the screw. Okay, don't lose the screw. Okay, I think it's in there still. It's not going to come out. All right, so you need to remove the plastic here, and that's going to give you your thermal pad. Okay, to help cool your M.2 drive. So installing our M.2 drive is pretty simple. You need to line it up here. Okay, just push it in, and you're going to put it down. So you can see this is a shorter one. Okay, so what I've done is I put our M.2 drive back in, line it up with your slots. I put another one of these that comes with your motherboard on here. Little screw is here. You have to fasten it in place. Just make it nice and snug. Now, peel off this. That'll help cool your M.2 drive. This is just going to go in here, and we're going to fasten it back on here. I have room for two more here at any point in time in the future. So the only thing left is to put our memory in, and then we're good to go. Our board is basically essentially ready to put into a system. So for memory, I've got DDR4, two 8 gigabyte sticks for 16 gig. Now it's 2400, so I will be swapping these out later, but this is what I have right now. So I'm going to build the system right now, but I'm probably going to swap out the memory to take advantage of the new motherboards and everything that's on there. So I'm probably going to switch that to 3200 or above. Okay, so installing our RAM, bring down the little slots here, both sides if you happen to have that on your motherboard. I usually start with slot 2 and slot 4. Make sure you line up this little notch with the notch that's on the motherboard. Go down into these little holes, these little slots, I guess you'd call them. Okay, just line that up and make sure that's lined up. And just kind of hold it for here. Push down on this side, you'll hear it click. And on this side, you'll hear it click as well. Okay, rinse and repeat. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Again, lining up your slot. And you're done. There's your memory installed. One of the biggest issues I had was the power supply. Because when you put the power supply in the back, one of the issues that I ran into was you couldn't get the screws to fasten it down. So I think other people probably have come across the same problem. So what I realized is if you take your two screws, there's two that can go on this side, two on this side, when this is not already installed. What happens is they will stick up and give you just a bit of a clearance. And there's two little holes on both sides of the power supply on top of that bracket that you put on. If you slide it down, you can push it onto those 4 screws and secure it in place. And it's not going to move. Like, it's on there, it's solid. So just a little tidbit that I learned. Wasn't in the description, wasn't in any of the videos I've done. So I thought that was important to point that out. So our motherboard's already done, it's already prepped. Our installation of the CPU and everything was in a previous video. So if you haven't been watching and you're new here, scroll back, have a look at that one first. See how I prepped the motherboard, all that kind of good stuff. Okay, our graphics card for this video is going to be a GTX 1080 Founders Edition. Okay, so looking inside the case, I had to check to make sure all the standoffs are in the right place. They're already pre-configured for the ATX motherboard. Now, one thing to keep in mind is our motherboard here already has the built-in I/O shield. So that makes it one step less you have to do. So all we have to do is fit our motherboard in. Of course, make sure nothing's in the way. Now, one more thing I want to show you before I do that is down here, this standoff you don't screw anything into it because it's meant to center your motherboard and lock it in place so you can screw in the other ones. It just makes it that much easier. So we're just going to go down, line this up. Okay, we're going to find that center one. We have to move all the cables out of the way, make sure nothing is interfering. And we should be able to center that. Once we have it done, where's my... There we go. And that should be pretty much it. You can see this kind of poking up in here. This is now on the back. And our I/O shield is going to be in the back here. So all we have to do now is put in our screws, fasten it down, and have a look at it. Okay, so we're just installing our standoffs. If we've done it right, everything should line up perfectly, and they should go in no problem. I already put this one in. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and snug. And same with this one down here. And I'll do that for all the other ones that are on the board, except for this one. And after that, we're just going to put in our DVD drive, our hard drive, our SSD on the back side of this. And I'll show you that as we go along. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these two screws here. That'll remove these two little brackets so we can put in our graphics card. Okay, so it's just a matter of putting it in here, loosening it up. And then that'll just pop on out. Okay, so do that for this one and the one you just took out. Okay, so we're going to put in our graphics card. We've already opened up our little slots. So it should go in here pretty simple. And once you've got it lined up, you just push down. And that's it. We're going to put our screws back in here. And then we're going to attach our power for our motherboard here. Our 8-pin power up in the corner. And then we'll connect this. Here, 2 screws are in. Graphics card's in. Let's connect our cables. So I'm going to set this up so you can see it better. Okay, so we took our CPU power cable, brought it up to the back here. Okay, on the very top, you got a little tab. So just make sure that everything plugs in there. So this one has 2 4s. So just make that they're both in secure. You can wiggle them, make sure they won't come out. That way you know it's okay. It does have the extra 4 here. And that's for if you need the extra power, if you're going to wind up overclocking. You can overclock mildly on this without having to worry about that. But if you need them, like, do extreme overclocking, you're going to need the extra power. So the next thing we're going to plug in is our 24-pin power. So I've got our cable here going to the back. I'm going to feed it up, probably coming in through here. That's the closest one. So we're just going to bring it in through here. There's all kinds of slack on it, so that's not a problem. And our little lip, our little tab is on the right hand side. So you can see the tab on here. So you have to make sure they both go in that same way. What you want to check is just make sure that this clicks down. Okay, so sometimes you can't see that little tab here. So if you're in doubt, just take it and see if you can pull it off. If it doesn't come out, then you know you're good. So now we have to hook up all our case cables. Okay, so putting in the hard drive, there's 3 screws that fasten the hard drive bracket in. So I loosen those off, which allows me to take it out. And then I can easily get to the sides, fasten in our hard drive, or a second one if I wanted to. And then I'll just slide it back in. So take those 3 screws out, pull out your hard drive cage, fasten it on the sides, whether you want to be in the top or the bottom. And then reinsert it and tighten those back up. And just in case you're not sure what screws you need, that's what it looks like right there. Okay, so I actually added a second hard drive. You can never go wrong with too much storage. So fastened it on here. So one on the bottom, one on the top. And I did the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so that's where they're fastened at. And now it's just a matter of putting it back in and securing it. So we'll go ahead and do that. And top one goes in the middle right here, just in case there's any doubt. We're just going to slide it back in. Okay, so you're going to take your SATA power, plug it in here. Looks basically like that. So this one has two. So one goes on the bottom, one's going to go on the top. And you just line it up. And whoops, be careful of that. Line it up and just push it on. That's it. That's all there is to it. And we'll tuck these cables away later on, get them out of the way. And so this is from our case. Plug it into the other end of the SATA power. And then we connected a second one to give us a SATA for our SATA drive or SSD drive. Okay, we have one more cable we have to connect, this right here. Now there is another spot, I believe. Nope, so that's what the other cable is going to be, because there are two. So we're just going to connect that one. Okay, connect that one on here. So again, just push them together. And then this one, you get your Molex, which you'll never probably use. That one there is going to be for SSD. So SSD is going to go right here. You're just going to have to take the screw and just take that out. Okay, just hold on to that while you do it. And it's just going to come out. It's got two little tabs that go in here. Okay, so put those in and then just tighten it back on. So that when you put it on the case, it's like that. Alright. So in the interest of cable management, being able to keep it a little cleaner, decided to put it this way instead of the other way. Have the cables on the bottom. And that way when I feed everything in through for our SATA cable, for our power for that, it'll just make it easier and a little bit cleaner. And the case will go on a little bit easier. So it's just things that make life easy in the end. So I've got our two SATA power here. And of course all the connectors here for LED or whatever it might be right now. And then we're going to have SATA cable here. SATA cable here, run it through, run it to the motherboard, and we're good. All right. If you want to know how all these cables work, just in case you're curious, you can look back to my review that I did. Again, this is the Dark Base Pro 900 Orange Revision 2 from Be Quiet, and you can check that out. And I show all the cables, how everything goes together in that video. So we're going to move around. We're going to connect all our SATA cables, connect all our case cables, and then we're pretty much going to be done. So something I'll often do is I'll change my SATA cables for one of the drives. So when I have two hard drives here, I'm going to put a black one and then I'm going to put a different colored one on there. So that way, if one of them fails and I want to quickly figure out, okay, which one it is, I can quickly look on the back, see which cable it is. So if it's a red one, I can replace that one, know which one it is, and so forth. Just little tricks I like to do for myself, just to make things easier for myself down the road. So our SATA cables are all connected. All right, they're just simple push in. All right, and they'll click in place. Same thing with connecting them in the back. I'll just show you that real quick. All right, so we've got down here, we've got our cables connected here for both drives and connected for our SATA, our SSD drive. So the remaining cables, now I've got a separate video on that as well, showing how to connect all your different cables. So you get your audio cable, it's going to be on here on the far left. We've already connected our fan from here for our CPU cooler. And then we're going to connect all our cables up front here for our LED light, hard drive, power, reset switch, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to look for that, I'll put a link up there for that as well, just in case you want to go back and see exactly how that's done. The only thing I haven't done yet is put the DVD drive in here. Contemplating whether I want to do that or not. I think for now I'm not going to do that. And if I decide later on I need it, well, I can always add it. So we're going to connect all our cables on here, and then we'll be done. Then we'll fire this bad boy up, and we'll go from there. So like I say, if you want to see how these cables, how they connect, then go back and watch the other video, which I will link. I'll have a card up top, one of those little round things that you see often in videos. If you didn't know what those are, they're called cards. You can click on one of those and it'll take you to the video so you can watch that part. Okay, so I had all the cables in and dead. Nothing would start. And by the way, I decided to put the DVD drive in after all. I don't know. Did I overpower it? Do I not have enough power? Whatever it is. Okay, so here's the thing. If you have this case, minor flaw, but there's a cable that's part of this case that plugs into the back of the power supply. And I played with changing all these around for a while. Finally thought, okay, let's give this a push and just see if maybe it worked itself loose. And on the back here, as soon as I pushed it in, everything fires up. Everything's good to go. No issues. So I'm going to put the shroud on. See what it looks like after I get it all cleaned up a bit with the cable management. And that'll be it. Okay, so this is the final product. Everything's in. Everything's up and working. LED lights are on. Everything here is on. Good to go. And one of the other things I want to point out, so I'm going to turn this a little bit, just so you can see it. I'm going to have to pan up a little bit. Is the button turns orange. I just thought that was kind of cool. And you have a magnetic opening here and one here. Oh. And the drive is working. Okay. You have your different settings for fans up here. So there's my Ryzen 7 3800 build. Hope you liked it. Do you think it looked as cool as I do? Pretty impressive, pretty powerful. All right, everybody, that's the video. That is one big computer. Most expensive one I've ever built. Gotta say, it was the one that gave me a bit of trouble. Putting that shroud in and out, it causes me some issues. It's not the most friendly thing to use. However, if you like it, hit that like. If you don't, you know what to do. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Hit that bell for future notifications. And stick around for the next one. And thanks for watching.